Great. Well, welcome to the St. John's Office of Gift Planning Power Hour series. We're starting off with a really fun one for 2023, and it's Meet Your Match. We're going to be talking about the fastest growing sport in America, which is pickleball. And I had this, well, my colleagues thought I had this crazy idea of putting together a St. John's pickleball team. I didn't think it was anything unusual, but I did get some chuckles at a meeting one day when I said, I'm going to put together a St. John's pickleball club, and I'm going to call it the Pickleball Johnnies, the PBJs. And everybody laughed. Well, the spring came and we got so many inquiries, very popular. We put together a dynamic group of people who came on board, and we played on Wednesday at 7 p.m. on the tennis courts. We converted the courts to pickleball courts, and now we transitioned over to another team. Some of the people who played in the spring summer came on to the fall session and recruited more people. So the PBJs, I think, well, we're probably around 40, growing to about 50 members. And the word is out. And I know a lot of people are going to want to come back and play with us in the spring. I know I didn't introduce myself. My name is Susan Damiani, and I'm director of gift planning and the McAllen Society, which is our legacy society. We offer these power hours every month to our alumni. So I was blessed with an angel. He's on the call here, Evan Numan, and we call him Coach Evan, and he came to the rescue in our fall session. I will give a shout out to Igor Maslow, my other student who played for the St. John's tennis team, and he started us out, and he was able to help me coach everybody and get this whole PBJ group started. And I know even for myself, and I'll have some, I know we have some PBJs on the call, but I know we've just really been having a lot of fun. It's very social, and it's just a really great group of people. And I really look forward every Wednesday evening to come out and see the PBJs and play with them. We also, after the session, I don't know if this is productive, but we're trying to probably exercise and maybe lose that COVID pounds, but we have some sandwiches and chips and wine and beer after every session. But it's fun because I think it's really bonded the group. So, so at any rate, I want to turn it over to our celebrity that we have here. Coach Evan's grandfather is here with us, Gary Colton. Hi, Gary. Thanks for
Hi,
joining us. And
no problem.
where are you coming from?
I live in Spring Hill, Florida, which is north of Tampa.
Nice. Oh, I'm jealous. It's probably beautiful weather there, right?
It's been gorgeous. Yes. We had a
Oh,
little
that's
cold spell, but we're back in the 70s, so it's great pickleball weather.
well, we're in midst the champion pickleball player here. So we're very honored to have you come and join us on our Power Hour and talk to us about pickleball and what makes pickleball so exciting and why it's a fast growing sport. So I know we're running a little bit behind because we had a technical issue. So I'm just gonna just throw it over to you. If you can just give us a little bit of a brief bio about yourself and how it all came to be and how you came to play pickleball and became this wonderful champion. Thank you.
You bet. Well, I got introduced to pickleball by a friend of mine who I played baseball with in college. And he was a golfer, and he got involved in pickleball and quit playing golf and strictly played pickleball. Put his golf clubs in the garage and never took them out. And I'm not sure how you're familiar with this game, but players are rated in pickleball similar to tennis from a 2.0 to a 5.0. And within 2 years, he was a 5.0. So he was at the top of the heap, and he got after me saying, you ought to be playing this sport. It's a great exercise. Everybody's friendly and so on. So I got started in 2012. I played 3 or 4 months, and didn't know much about what I was doing other than trying to hit the ball over the net. And there's a lot of strategy in this game once you get started in it. So that summer, this same guy who got me started played in a tournament with me and had me come a half hour before the tournament. And he taught me more in a half hour than I'd learned in 6 months or 8 months prior to that about the strategy and what you should be trying to do. And I think Evans tried to teach some of you some of that as well, where to hit the ball, how to get up to the kitchen line, those kinds of things. And the longer you play, the more strategy, more you become involved in strategy, because after a while, everybody can hit the ball back to you. It's a matter of hitting it so they can't return it to you. Hit them where they ain't, as they used to say in baseball. So I was also joined a club in northern Wisconsin where I go for the summers. And in 2011, they had trouble getting 8 people to play. Last year, there were over 250 members in this pickleball club. So it is the fastest growing sport. The last 10 to 15 years, it's just exploded. I don't know how familiar you are with the state of Florida, but there are a lot of gated communities, which are 55 and older communities, where they have amenities of some kind. Well, if you don't have an amenity with pickleball, people are not looking like they would be if you had those amenities. Everybody's got a golf course, but not everybody has pickleballs. And if Evan will put his screenshot up there, I'll show you what our pickleball complex looks like. We started out on an old tennis court, and they just built 12.
Can you see that?
Oh, wow.
They built 12 pickleball courts separate from anything else, that we are not. And if you look carefully, you can see there's a fence going down the middle between the two courts, which is a big safety measure, because when you're playing on where you guys have been playing on tennis courts, you find that the ball rolls between courts, and it's a hazard. You've got to stop play, or somebody will step on the ball and turn an ankle or something. But we are very fortunate to have our courts divided by a fence so that the ball doesn't roll between courts while we're playing. And you can see we've got lighter blue indicating the kitchen area and a darker blue for the serving area. So we were voted best U.S. pickleball facility in the year 2022. So
Oh, wow.
We're very proud of our courts.
Those are beautiful courts, no doubt. I love them. I wish we had them at St. John's.
The other thing we did in our northern Wisconsin club was that we took 2 tennis courts that weren't being used, raised money and resurfaced them, and turned them into 6 pickleball courts. So I have 2 areas, one in the summer, one in the winter, where I'm playing on designated pickleball courts, not on a tennis court, which I know you guys have no choice. You got to get the university to build you some tennis court or some pickleball courts. I don't know if that'll get done or not. The other thing I wanted to mention was, Susan and I talked about this, in Naples, Florida. There's a tournament called the U.S. Open. It started in 2000, I'm going to say 18 or 19. I was there the first year to look. At that time, they had 52 designated courts. They now have 65 designated courts in a park in East Naples, Florida. Last year, they had over 2,000 participants. So it's something that in the last 10 to 15 years, it's just gone crazy. Everybody that is in sports or is interested in sports has seen this pickleball thing grow. I think maybe you've seen on TV, they had a celebrity pickleball thing on one of the channels. They weren't playing very good pickleball, but they were out there and people got to see what it was actually like. So I guess that's pretty much my background. I've played in, I don't know how many tournaments. Evan's brother and I have played in a tournament every summer since he was 14. He's now 22. So 8 times we've played there, won 5 of the 8 times. even when he was 14, we won. So it depends on how much you want to get involved, how competitive you are, because there's many people in our facility here in Florida who just go out there and hit the ball back and forth. It's not a big deal whether they win or lose, where some of us are way too competitive for that kind of a game. We want to win, we want to win. But I've found that it's great exercise, especially if you are inclined to get to the kitchen line like you should. You got to move, and when you do, you get good exercise. If it's a warm day, you can sweat through a shirt in no time by moving around. And the other thing is, I've been in, say, 3 or 4 different areas now to play, and go in not knowing anybody, and within 2 or 3 days, you'll meet people and make friends and develop friendships that you wouldn't have if you weren't out there on the pickleball court. I've not run into people anywhere that aren't welcoming when you come there, ask you to play, step in. Sometimes you step in when maybe you shouldn't. People are a little better than you, but I mean, they don't turn you away. If you want to play, they'll invite you to play. And I think that's what I really enjoy about the game, is the friendly people that you're with and the exercise that you get with it. I don't know if Evan
What
wants
about,
to add
Gary, the
something.
mechanics? Because some of the people that join the call have played, but I see, I don't know, you're not part of the PBJ club. You might be playing with other people, but just in case if there are some people that are just learning about this sport, how would you describe the mechanics and how you start out and how you play would be helpful.
Okay. If you've played a ping pong, or a lot of people played ping pong, racquetball, any kind of a racket sport, it's going to come easy for you. You just got to concentrate on watching the ball hit your paddle and make sure you hit it back over the net as best you can. I think Evan has probably taught you the serving aspect of it, where you have to keep your paddle down when you serve, underhand over the net. And other than that, it's eye-hand coordination. The mechanics to me are watch the ball hit your paddle and have your paddle in a ready position so that you can get the ball back over the net if it comes to you.
But you have to bounce. You have to bounce the ball once, right? Evan?
Right. The ball bounces once on each side of the court.
Side, right?
It bounces. The serve bounces in the serving court, and then when the ball's returned to the servers, it has to bounce, and then after that, it doesn't have to bounce if you don't want it to. Although
yeah, I haven't been playing a long time, and unfortunately, since I'm the one sort of managing the club, I don't really get to play as often as I would like. But I've noticed that some people do not play properly. That was one of the advantages of Coach Evan coming on board. He knew the game so well that I think he helped break some bad habits.
right.
But what I've noticed is people think they're playing tennis and they bounce the ball before they serve it.
Right.
Is that
You
correct
can't,
or not correct?
you can,
You can
2
bounce
years
the
ago,
ball?
2 years ago, they changed the serving rule
Uh-huh.
so that you can drop the ball when you serve. You
Really?
can drop it, let it bounce,
And
and then
then
hit it over the net. Yes,
I find that so strange because to me the pickleball is like a wiffle ball. So
right.
it just doesn't seem like a ball that you'd want to drop or bet. Yeah, it's not a bouncy ball, really.
Yeah,
So yeah,
you can't throw it down.
okay.
You have to hold it and release it, and then you
Mm-hmm.
can serve. The advantage for that is that there are some people who try to serve sidearm, which is illegal. But if you
Oh.
bounce it, you can serve it any way you want to. You can have your paddle sidearm,
Oh, I see.
any old way, spin it, whatever. But once it bounces, there's no rule about where your paddle has to be. Where if you hit it from your hand, you have to have it below your waist and your wrist has to be pointed down. So that
Is
there
there
is an
more
advantage.
advantages of doing it by not bouncing it, or bouncing it it makes
Uh,
it a
I
serve?
think it,
Doesn't
I
matter?
mean, I play with people who do both. Some
Okay.
people just, they find that they can get the serve in better if they
Mm,
bounce it.
right,
And for me, I serve it out of my hand because I've been doing it for over 10 years. So it's easier for me to just serve it
right.
out of my hand. But a lot of people have found, I play with my brother-in-law down here, and sometimes his serve goes crazy. He'll go 4, 5, 6 times. He can't get the ball in. But when he bounces it, then he's
That
able
is,
to do that
yeah.
and control it
Oh,
better.
okay.
So,
All right, that's
well,
interesting. Evan, have you noticed any, other kind of habits where people think that they're doing it correctly and they're not?
Well, one thing I think that it's funny that we didn't even have to prompt him, but my grandfather spoke about, I believe 2 or 3 times, was getting to the kitchen line as
Yes.
something that's super
Mm-hmm.
important.
Yeah.
Obviously, that's not a rule, but that's good practice and that's the way that good players play.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that that's something we really worked on as a team, as the PBJs, because I had that drilled into me so much by him. He would get to the line, get to the line, get to the
I
line.
love it. I love
So I think
well,
that we saw a lot of improvement and some really good rallies and good points from the players that I was watching
it.
this
Interesting.
fall when we were all at the line. We're dinking better, longer rallies, more fun points like that. You get a good slam. It's just a lot. I think that was something we saw that was really good.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we, as difficult as scoring may be, I think we are starting to grasp it. And we ask questions, which is important. And we have at least had that core basic concept of you can only score on your serve. We at least know that. We may get our ones and our twos confused, but we at least know we can only score
Yeah.
when we're serving.
Gary, can you explain the scoring? Because
I
we just
can.
love it so much.
Let me tell you, let me add to what Evan just said about the kitchen line. According to the statistics, 75% of the points won are from the kitchen line.
Aha.
So only
What did you say?
25% of the points won are when you're back on the end line or in between. And Evans probably said you don't want to be in no man's land, which is halfway between the end line and the kitchen line. That's the worst place to be. But they claim 75% of the points won are won at the kitchen line.
Mm.
All right. So for the scoring, you always announce your score first, your opponent's score second, and the server number third. And remember, each player on each team serves.
Okay.
Of course, except for the start of the game. We don't want to throw that in there. But so if I'm serving and we haven't scored, I'm going to say 0-0-1. My score is 0, the other team scores 0, and I'm the first server. And if we don't score a point, and remember, you can only score when you serve, unlike tennis, where you score on every serve, no matter whether it's you or your opponent. And then if I don't score, my partner would say 0-0-2, because the score we have is 0, the opponent scores 0, and he becomes server 2. And then the ball would go to the other team if nobody scored. And again, you would say the same thing. It is confusing.
When your grandfather explains it, it doesn't sound as difficult as when I first was trying to learn the scoring. You simplified it for us. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I think you have to get, the hang of that.
Yeah, it takes a little while. That's for sure.
You would like to add anything else, Evan?
About scoring, no, I'm good. I scoring's the bane of my existence sometimes, so I'm just happy when I get it right.
Anything else though about mechanics that you want to share with the group?
I think that one thing that we really started to do, and I think is important, is just kind of also understanding the person you're playing with is really important, because obviously we play in partners. So say you're playing with someone who's got a really strong dink shot, they're really, really solid. Letting that showcase their shine, or say someone, if the other team pops it up, they're going to take it because they're a stronger slammer than you are. Like kind of knowing that. Or when my grandfather plays with me, he tells me before we start, you got all the lobs, right? I'm 20 years old. He is 21 years old, if you just ask. So Obviously,
good.
I'm going to be taking all the lobs. So then we'll switch. So kind of knowing those kind of things about your
Right.
partner, or if you're playing with a lefty, it's a little bit different, right? Because if you're a righty, they're a lefty. Your
Right.
forehands are in the middle at the same time. So those kind of elements is also important. Once you've started to learn your own game, it's also how can I complement my partner's game as well?
It's so true because I noticed myself, I stayed away for anybody who slammed the ball because I even in ping pong, games, I hated to play with the people that slammed the ball. Or, again, I like to go up to the kitchen. There's some people who don't like that.
Would you
So,
like some
like
tea?
you said, you get used to who you're playing with,
Right.
which is, which is really good.
One
Yeah.
of the other things I would suggest too is, I don't know what's going on here.
Yeah, I have
Someone's
everybody mute. I don't know.
someone's unmuted.
Kathleen, there you go. I'm playing in a tournament this weekend and played with the guy I'm going to be a partner with today. And one of the things that we try to do is talk to each other, especially when the ball's hit down the middle and you're not sure who's going to take it. He'll say yours or mine. And then I know either I'm supposed to hit it or he's going to hit it. And we both don't swing at the same time and bang paddles. So communication is another thing. Don't be afraid to talk to your partner and say mine or you got it or whatever. I mean, a lot of shots are obvious. They're hit right at you. It's the one that's down the middle that can be a problem. And the other thing is, like Evan said, is the lob. And I know he or his brother, if I'm playing with them, I know who's going for the lob. It isn't going to be me. I'm going to stand there and watch because they're quick.
And I think that nicely segues that, call communication also kind of talks about safety as well.
Right.
That's something that is also very important is when you want to be communicating for your and your partner's safety as well. Because if you're both running for a lob or you're both going for a shot and you collide, obviously that's a more likelihood. So really being able to communicate, because I was playing with my dad this past weekend and I think I hit him with the ball more than I hit the other team with the ball because he would be in my way or I'd swing at something and hit him with my paddle. And I'm like, we probably should be talking a little bit more. And it's one of those things that's like, it's small. You don't think about, oh, let's call these shots. But when they're down the middle, you're both going to naturally want to go for it to make sure. And that is obviously something that I heavily stress safety when we talk about it, because I don't want anyone getting injured. And obviously that takes away from our ability to play. But communication also plays into that as well.
Yeah, no, the communication is big because and it's hard because, Gary, what you were saying, it is a social sport where, you can, pop in, people playing pickleball and join a group, they'll say, oh, come and play with me. But then when you're starting with someone new that you don't really know,
right,
in the beginning, like you said, you have to get used to how the person's serving and like you said, the communication is even more important as you begin to play with a person you've never played before.
right.
Because like you said, you could be bumping into each other. I noticed that, like both of us were going for the ball at the same time. Oh, wait, sorry. Okay, you hit the ball, or you get some people who are hoggers, they're always hitting the ball. Then they never let you hit the ball,
Right.
Then you don't play with that person next time. That kind of thing. But safety is important. I know I wanted to bring that up because I will say overall, with the number of games that we've played, we really didn't have any, and maybe I shouldn't be saying this, I'm going to knock on wood. We haven't had any casualties. But the first one, we did have very close call. Someone went head first into the net, but it was because they were supposed to go to their eye doctor to get their glasses adjusted and they didn't get them adjusted. So that, is important as well. So, but there are some people I know, in some of our groups, ankle swelling, things like that. But I think we were talking, when I was talking to Gary and Evan yesterday, just saying, be smart about it. And I don't know, was it Evan or probably it was Gary? You had a very good line of what do we say to pickleball players when they're first starting to play about being careful?
Okay,
You have a
there's
very
a
prolific,
couple of things that I would mention.
yeah,
Don't ever run backwards,
right.
ever. Today I was playing and I was in a very competitive game and I got hit right here
Oh, wow.
with a pickleball. If I hadn't had glasses on, I would have been hit in the eye.
Oh,
It's important to wear glasses when you play this game.
really? I didn't think of
Oh,
that.
it is very important,
Wow.
especially if you start playing where people are really banging the ball hard.
Yeah,
The ball went up today and this guy came out there and he slammed it. He didn't mean to hit me. It was
right.
just, I just happened to be in the wrong place at the wrong time, knocked
Mm,
my glasses off and it left a
wow.
mark on my cheek. But if I hadn't had the glasses on, possibly would have hit me in the eye, and
Mm,
that would not have been good. So that, and the third thing is get a pair of shoes that don't have the knobby things on the bottom,
mhm,
because those will stop you quicker than you want to stop and you'll go head first. You
right.
want a pair of shoes that are smooth on the bottom, pair of glasses, and don't run backwards.
But you had a good saying, and I don't, Evan, do you remember what your grandpa
Yeah,
said? I
yeah.
said,
I'll cover.
I began the first session with, remember, you're not 22 years old anymore.
Yeah,
But your
I'll
grandpa
cover.
said it better
I'll
than
cover
that.
for his memory or lack
Okay,
thereof.
yeah.
He said yesterday he said, there's no money on the game, right? No one
Yeah,
makes
right.
any money whether you win or lose on that
Exactly.
game. So play knowing that fact. If you can't get to a ball, or if you're gonna have to put your body on the line to try to get to a ball, maybe you don't put your body on the line trying to get to the ball. There's no money on the game. So
Oh,
understand that we're out there first and foremost to have fun,
right.
to learn the game, to make connections. So when you're playing the way we're playing and the way 99% of people play when you're not in a tournament or something like that, that's a little bit different. But when you're just playing recreational pickleball, understand that your safety comes above the score of the pickleball game.
That's for
Right.
sure. Good
Exactly.
point.
And Gary, we talked about cost and investment.
Okay.
If you're
Yeah.
not including wine and beer and so forth, what really is the
I'm not going to count the beer and the wine.
what's really the cost?
Most everybody has a pair of tennis shoes.
Right.
So
right, true.
you need a good pair of tennis shoes that are comfortable and not worn out, of course. And then a paddle. She was asking me yesterday about a paddle. My suggestion for paddles would be to go to Dick's or even to Walmart and get a paddle in your hand and see how it feels.
Right.
I know Evan's mother ordered him a paddle that was around $100. He didn't like the feel of it. He and his dad went to Walmart and found one for a lot less, which they did like, sent the other one back through Amazon. So to me, it's the feel of it. They have different weights. The paddle handles are different thicknesses. So, if you have a smaller hand, you want a smaller handle. Have a bigger hand, you want a fatter handle.
Right.
So the investment is minimal. You buy balls, you get a paddle, and find a place that has a net and a court, and away you go.
That's what I really like about this sport is, if you want to play not so much tennis, but if you want to play golf, there's investment
Oh, very expensive.
with the clubs and all of that, and especially growing up in Queens, even with pickleball, with golf, you have to get up at like 4 o'clock in the morning to go on a public course. I remember when I was Evan's age, I said, I have to learn how to play golf if I'm going to be a business executive. And I started learning. And then I'm like, oh, where am I going to play? And I'm like, I have to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning, play it. Forget it. That's not my game. I don't want to get up that early. Pickleball in Queens, there are some courts, but there's not a lot. So thankfully, if you belong to St. John's, you can go play pickleball at St. John's. Or I will say, when we need coverage, we go over to court close by. But that's it really. I can't even think of any other court besides those two courts that are available. There's more in Long Island. So I would just say maybe that's a little of downside with it. But
Yeah, for
it's
your
still,
area.
yeah, but it's still something where if you do find a court, it's easy just to pick up the game.
Right.
And I literally, I think I felt like I learned it, in 5 minutes when I happened to have a couple of students that played for St. John's Tennis. They showed me in the office. We were hitting the ball in the office, and I'm like, oh, this is you can pick it up very easily, like you said, if you play ping pong or some type of paddle sport. So it's not difficult.
And you can go on the internet and buy balls,
Right.
and they're fairly reasonable. I mean, you could buy a dozen balls and they're not that expensive. You
Right.
just got to make sure if you're playing outdoors like you have been, that you buy an outdoor ball. There's a difference between an indoor ball and an outdoor ball.
Really?
An indoor ball has bigger holes,
Oh.
and the outdoor ball, the holes are smaller and they're not the same size all over. An indoor ball, the ball has holes that are they're the same size all the way around the ball. An outdoor ball doesn't have those, and the holes are smaller on an outdoor ball. Less affected by the wind, I think, because the holes are smaller.
Yeah, that makes
So
sense.
you just want to look when you're looking for them. You just got to make sure you order wherever you're going to play, whether it be indoor or outdoor.
That's interesting, because when I was doing my research, you get like they have the packages where you get like two paddles and they give you I think like 3 balls, but they never said anything about the outdoor. So I think we have the wrong balls, right? Isn't our holes pretty big?
Indoor balls.
I don't know. I play with I like the bigger hold balls when I'm playing outdoor, because I play one person versus 2 people against my parents, so it gives me a little more time to get to the ball. It gives me I get a little bit more of a chance to run, cover the whole court. So I don't mind that.
That's funny.
But and I think also, to piggyback real quick about the equipment and the paddle and that kind of thing, it really is. There's that. It's not, if you buy a $300 paddle, you're going to be a $300 player. You buy the paddle that works for you. I like a lighter paddle. I like to be able to put more of my own swing, more of my own spin on it. My dad uses a heavier paddle. It's got much more weight to it. It's a lot solider, and it's not that his paddle's good and mine's bad, or vice versa. It's that it is what it is. So it's really just find a paddle that works for you, and that should be fine.
Right. So I don't know. I mean, we're going to open it up for questions, but I think one last thing, I don't know if you want to talk a little bit about the SJU PBJs, Evan? Anything to talk about your experience and how it all came to be?
Yeah, so
you got involved, which is very
well, I'm in the President's Society, and I was working a commencement event in last spring, and Rob, who isn't with us, he's in Rome right now, but many of you know Rob, he was complaining about finance homework, and me and another student were like, oh, we love finance, we could help you out. He's like, are you serious? We're like, yeah, sure, whatever. So after one of the events, me and the other student went to the Office of Gift Planning, met Susan for the first time, helped Rob and Susan with their finance homework. About 3 hours into this program of finance homework help, somehow pickleball got brought up. I'm like, oh, I love pickleball. I play it all the time with my grandpa. Susan's like, you're kidding me. I got this pickleball club. We need kids to coach it. Would you coach it? And I'm like, yeah, sure, whatever. Now I'm thinking about it, right? Like a week before I'm going home for the summer, yada, yada. So I get back on campus in the fall. Susan's like, are you free on Wednesday nights? I'm like, yeah, sure, let's do it. So first week, I'm like, I talked to my grandpa. We're talking what about how this lesson's gonna run, this, that, and the other. Get there, get out there, set up the courts, this, that, and the other. And as those of you who were a part of the fall crew can attest, we had a whole bunch of fun, I would say. Each week we worked on some different skills. We got some great games in. Had a lot of laughs, I would say. That maybe we did a little bit too much. We were having a little bit too much fun sometimes when we were playing. But we really we learned the game. I think everyone can attest to some sort of improvement from week 1 to week 8 that they saw in themselves and others, in the games that were being played, in the competitiveness, in the what was really awesome would be I could walk around and I could see a shot happen, and then before I could even say something, the person who missed the shot, they would say to themselves what they did wrong, and they're like, "Oh, I didn't do this," or "Oh, I didn't do that," or if someone hit the shot down the middle, they go, "Oh, we didn't cover the middle." So it was great that it was like you didn't need me to be there to be telling you what you're doing, quote unquote, wrong, or what could be improved
Right.
upon, or what skills, because you were kind of that voice in the back of your head, or
Yeah.
as I love the rope analogy, your partner, you and you're at a rope when you're at the kitchen line, they take one step, you take one step. Multiple times I would see someone turn and be like, "You didn't take your steps with me. I took two over. You didn't cover the middle." Right. So like that kind of thing that was just drilled into your head from me, from my grandpa. Right. I think that was some of the fun too, is I didn't even have to say those words because you were already saying it to yourself, to someone else. And that was something that was really great to see as we continued to play. And I'm really excited to get back on the courts in the spring. Hopefully going to have a lot of fun. I'm trying to convince Susan to make it bigger and better and more grand, as she only would just, she says there's this thing called budgets, which I don't understand, but we have them apparently.
Oh, he's got great ideas. Champagne taste on my beer budget. Yes. I know.
So, but yeah, really excited to play again in the spring. Looking forward to working with the returners, working with new members. So we'll get the word out. We're gonna have another great session.
Yeah, we'd love to see another group come in and, blend in with the other two cohorts. That would be fun to see it expand. But, I was managing it, and sometimes I would come back after I was like putting all the beer and wine and all that stuff together and come back to the courts. I did see tremendous improvement. Like everyone, I was looking, I was like, they look like they've been playing pickleball forever. Everybody really, really looked good. So I saw it from the first day they started playing to like the last game. It was really good improvement, and really kudos to you, Evan, and to your grandfather who coached you very well. No, really, you really have a great knack. I know Michael and Lori are on the call, and I know they're shaking their heads, right? Coach Evan, good coach. Yeah, we really have to thank the University of Mary for my MBA program in finance, because we would not have uncovered Evan. So I guess we have to thank them too. But it's funny how fate and how everything all comes to be, but in such a good way. And I always say it, that, like I said, the Pickleball Johnnies, the group is just a super nice group. And then after we, when we come towards the end, we have, a year-end party. And I thought we had a really great time with that too. That was a lot of fun. So I like the social aspect. And it's nice, for me, I'm an alumna of St. John's, but it's so nice to see a lot of people who I graduated with, graduated in the 70s or the 60s, and 80s, come back to campus. And it was so nice that people were coming up to me and saying, I haven't been on this campus since I graduated. It's so great. It's nice to be back. Thank you for bringing us back to campus, back to alma mater. So that was nice, Sorry, my cold. It's starting to kick in. So I don't know, does anyone have any questions for Evan or Gary? Yeah.
I got one quick one. So Susan, first of all, got to thank you for putting this program together. Lori and I we've loved it. We're glad to be, part of the St. John's family. Gary, you've been there for all of our Wednesdays through Evan. He is an incredible coach. He really is. He's taught us a lot. We learned and loved the sport from the very beginning, but he's made us better players, I have to say. So
Good.
I have a question for you, Gary. How does
Okay.
the ratings work? We've watched some YouTube videos, and I see a 4.5 player or a 5.0 player. Where does that come from?
Well, you originally there's a guide that I forgotten what the name of the Pickleball Association for America is, but anyway, if you go on under pickleball, there's a guide that gives you certain steps that you must accomplish to get to like a 3.0. It's like I can return a serve. I can I serve without making a lot of errors. I mean, there'll be 8 or 9 different points. And if you are acceptable in those points, you become a 3.0. Then when you get into tournaments, if you win a couple, guess what? They move you up to 3.5. And if you start winning there, they move you up to 4.0. So there are clubs. I know this friend that got me started, he used to be an evaluator where he went in Arizona. They had 30 courts and they had 2 or 3 designated courts for 3.5 players, 4.0 players, 4.5 players. And he would, if you would ask him, he would come and watch you play and evaluate your skills and say, okay, you're a 3.5 or you're a 4.0. So it's, I don't know if there's any real set thing. Basically, the ones I get into, they ask you to rate yourself and
Right.
tell them where you think you should be placed. But
Gotcha.
some people
Little
put
self-evaluate.
themselves down at a lower level so they can be a winner.
Part of the strategy.
Exactly.
Thanks.
Exactly.
Great.
Anybody else have any questions? Go ahead, group. No? That was a
I
good
got one
question.
more.
Thanks, Mike. Good. No, your last question was good.
So my brother-in-law and sister, they live in a gated community and they have pickleball is all the rage. Have you ever run into like playing with people that you've been too competitive with?
Yes.
How does that feel? Or how does that work?
Well, when I first moved here, I've only lived in this community for a year and a half, almost, well, going on 2 years. And when I first moved here, I fortunately ran into some players who were in my ability level. And so I was able to get a group of guys and they accepted me, which I've told you before. This is a very accepting sport. And I was able to work in. And I've told a lot of people, I don't mind playing with people who are less talented or haven't progressed in their skills to my level. I don't mind helping people like that. I don't think I would want a steady diet of that because I think I have a tendency to play not at my level, but more at their level so that they don't get discouraged. Like Evan's mother, she gets mad at me if I play.
It'll be his daughter, by the way. Evan's mother is his daughter.
Yes,
let's
my
do
daughter.
that lineage real quick.
In fact, she came down last Christmas and I had to play left-handed.
Thanks for that, Evan. Sorry.
She made me play left-handed. I'm not playing with you if you're going to play like that. Okay. So it's that kind of thing. And, pretty soon it's like water. It seeks its level and you begin to find players that you're at their level. If I moved into an area and I got in a group of people and I was losing every game by 11-2, 11-3, I'd say, hey, have a nice day. I'm going home. I mean, that's no fun. You want to be in a group of people that play at your level so that there's if you're competitive. Yes.
Appreciate that.
I have a
Yeah.
question. Do you find that the tennis world gets a little bit like put out by having pickleball courts?
He's got beautiful courts.
Yeah,
Well, I'll tell you what, we're
It's
finding
kind of like some competition or
I
something.
noticed that.
a little bit. In fact, before they built our new courts, they were using tennis courts, and there was a fight over the time period as to when tennis would have the courts and when pickleball could have the courts, because the tennis courts, they aren't Division I courts like yours where they can't draw lines. There were lines all over the place. Pickleball lines inside the tennis court lines. So there was a back and forth. Oh, I get to at 10 o'clock. No, I get 11 o'clock. And since we've built our own courts, that isn't happening. And we're finding that more and more tennis players are beginning to play pickleball. Because if you think about it, a tennis game can take anywhere, sometimes an hour to an hour and a half to play to get to 6 wins. In pickleball, you can play in 20 minutes and your game's over and you can sit down and rest. They're still out there for an hour and a half. So and the impact on your body is so much less than it is when you're playing tennis. It's just so much easier on you. And so
Those are
we're
two
finding a
very
lot
good
of tennis players coming over to the pickleball side.
Yeah. Yeah, no, those are good benefits. Good questions. Thanks, Michael.
Yeah,
Those are
I was
good.
gonna
Yeah.
piggyback on the competitive one because I tend to get.
Oops.
Stop muting me,
I'm not. I thought I was
Susan. You're muting me.
I thought I was muting Carol. Sorry. You don't want to hear from me.
But competitiveness. Sorry, now I'm just making sure I can even talk. But competitiveness. One thing that I definitely think is that mentality of sometimes it's like, so my brother and I, if you can imagine, we're quite competitive with each other, and he's a state competing tennis player, so he outskills me in pickleball, but that doesn't mean that I play him with any less vigor and stuff like that. So that's always something. But I even say, even if you're playing with someone who's maybe not at your skill level or not at the speed that you play the game at, because really I think that's what happens is the speed of the game gets quicker eventually, right? It's not so slow on the dinking. It's dink dink until slam, and then you're slam 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 until someone misses. So if you're not playing with someone who maybe is playing the game as fast as you, it doesn't mean that you can't still be working on your game. So when I play with someone and we're working on something, or or if I play against my parents, for example, since we're not playing for anything, today I was working on spin. I was working on all backspin. So if I had the chance to take a backspin shot, I was. Now, was it always the right opportunity? No, but I'm working on that, drilling that in my abilities, so that when I am playing a game that's maybe more competitive or means a little more for me, I'm more competitive because I've worked on that skill. So I say, like, even if I'm playing with someone who I know I'm only going to dink and I'm not going to slam, I'm putting that ball to the exact hole I want to hit it to, or the exact location I can get it to, and you're still improving, you're still playing, and you're playing with someone who maybe then it's not feeling like you're winning 11-2, right? Because you're going to make mistakes when you're trying to out exceed your level. If I can't place every ball, I can't hit every ball as a backhand drop shot, but I'm trying to hit as much as I can and stuff like that. So I think that competitive piece is also a mindset of competing against yourself when you're not competing. The other people aren't put in that same level. Compete against yourself. Be able to beat yourself, basically, of, can I put it here? Can I put it there? Kind of like you're training, but it's in a game, so it's still game speed, but you're doing drills still.
Good point. I like that. Never thought of it that way too. No, this was good. Gary, thank you so much. I hope everyone found this so interesting. I did. And I learned, a lot, even from this call, thinking that I knew, almost everything about pickleball after going through it, managing it. But I've learned a lot even tonight. So thank you. And thank you for your time. I hope one day you can come in person and show up your stuff.
Wednesday nights.
We're gonna try. We're gonna try to get him out there.
Yeah,
he's coming out a little bit early for graduation. Might stay a few. We might try to get him out there for one Wednesday.
Yeah.
I was
We'll
told
have to have our own tournament.
I was
Who's
told
gonna
if you
play with Gary, not me.
I was told if you move it to Tuesday night, I could play.
Really? I don't know. We might. Actually, I don't know. Wednesday
Graduation weekend, I'll be there.
Really?
Yeah,
All
but
right.
by Wednesday we'll be back in Illinois. So
Yeah, we're gonna figure this out.
Yeah.
well, sounds good to
You
me.
have to come for the party at least.
Yeah, we'll have to fly
Forget
him out or
about
do
the
something.
pickleball game. Come to the party.
Right. Right.
We really appreciate your time. This was a lot of fun.
Thank you.
It was a lot of fun. I enjoyed it.
So much.
Thank you for having me.
And we hope anyone who's not a PBJ will become a PBJ.
There you go.
After tonight. So email me or call me if you're interested, and look out for your emails, because we'll let you know when the next session starts, which is in the spring, probably in April. However, the existing PBJs might go down for the St. Patrick's Day parade weekend, that we have in Naples, Florida. We want to do a game against the Florida alumni down there. So I'm working on that. So we might have like a little competition. And it's a great weekend in Naples, so we'll see. Okay. So
Sounds
thanks
good.
again, everyone. Thanks for joining the call. I hope everyone's off to a happy new year and a healthy one. I hope I get healthy by the end of the week.
Yes,
I'll keep my fingers crossed. But thanks again.
you
Thanks for
bet. Good
joining
luck
us. Appreciate it.
with your pickleball.
Yeah, thanks so
Thank
much.
you.
Same to you.
Thanks all. Evan, thank you, Susan.
Take care.
Gary.
Thank you,
Thanks
everybody.
again.
Thank you.
Sure.
Bye.